Hi guys, my name's Dan and I love gadgets. Today I'm going to be showing you a little action camera called the FireFly 8 SE. It's a little kind of action camera similar to a GoPro. It can shoot in 4K, it can shoot in slow motion at 1080p. And most interestingly, it's only around about $100, between $100 and $140 depending on where you buy it and when you buy it. So it's a very cheap camera. I guess some people will call it a GoPro killer. I don't necessarily think that, but I think it's a very good value camera because the video coming out of it is pretty awesome. It has some other features which I'll go into later, but I'm going to show you what this thing can do, what the video looks like, and I guess talk about whether you should buy it or not. It can shoot video of 4K at 30 FPS, and it also has some other modes such as 2.5K, HD, and I guess a few other ones. It can shoot at 240 frames per second at 720p, and it can shoot at 1080p at 120 frames per second. It can shoot 16 megapixel photos. It comes with a waterproof case. It comes with an external microphone which attaches to the USB port. It has a 1200 mAh battery which should last around about an hour of continuous filming. It can be used as a dash cam or in kind of home security camera because it can you can set it up to record continuous, and it has a full touch screen at the back. So those are the specs of the camera. I mean, for such a cheap camera, again, $100, $140, I think it's pretty good. It does quite a lot of stuff, but let's go into what is most important and let's take a look at the video. So this is the 4K video shot with the FireFly 8 SE. It was shot in London, obviously. Now, I think it looks pretty good. I like the details. It does look very, very high quality, especially if you zoom in, you can definitely see that there is not that much pixelation. It does capture light well, it captures dynamic range fairly well. The colors don't pop that much. It's kind of slightly dull in terms of color, but I think that can be rectified in post-production very, very easily. Just add some saturation. So I think, all in all, it looks great. Now, one thing you'll notice is that it kind of has a fisheye effect, as you can kind of warps around the edges. Now, that's because this is a kind of a fisheye lens. Now, that can be rectified as well. There are 3 different modes in the camera settings where you can shoot flat or halfway between or at this fisheye mode. Let's take a look at actually what those modes look like. So this is the flat effect. As you can see, it just looks like a normal video. Here is the halfway between the two. This is, like I say, you can see a slightly more fisheye effect and it will be slightly high quality. And here is the final one, which is again the fisheye effect in full force, but this is the highest resolution. This is the highest quality it will get because it's not zooming in. Now, next I want to talk about the slow motion feature of this camera because I think that is one of its best selling points. I personally really like slow motion. I like to play around with it, so it's very good for me. Yeah, so like I said, it can shoot at 240 frames per second at 720 resolution, and it can also shoot 120 frames per second in full HD, which I think is pretty awesome. Not that many cameras can do it. I mean, a few GoPros can do it and a few other cheaper action cameras, but not very many cameras that are $100 can do that. So yeah, let's take a look at what it looks like. This first video was shot in 120 frames per second in HD, which is my favorite mode. The video is super smooth. You don't get that flashing effect that sometimes you get in slow motion, and the HD resolution makes it look amazing. Now, this next video was shot at the highest frame rate, 240 frames per second, and at 720p. Now, you can kind of see that it is slightly lower resolution. It's, again, not flashing, not flickering. So yeah, if you wanted super slow motion, this is probably one of the best cameras I've ever used for that, especially at such a cheap price. So yeah, all in all, I think the slow motion is awesome on this camera. It's certainly better than the slow motion I get on my phone, which doesn't really work that well. This works really well. However, you would need a bright environment. It won't work well in low light. It won't work well in the dark, obviously. But so if you were using it in daylight and just film some footage like I've just shown you, I think it works really well, and I think it's one of the main selling points for this camera. So like I said, this camera can shoot in several different modes. I mean, it can shoot in 2.5K in full HD. However, I'm not sure why you would want to when it can just shoot in 4K. I guess if you wanted to save some memory. But yeah, let's take a look at some more 4K footage because I think that's important just to show you what it can do. This footage was filmed in one of my favourite places in London. It's like an underground street art area where anyone can just come and do some street art, and there's some awesome works there. So this was filmed in a kind of not a low light situation, but it was artificial light. So this is kind of how it deals with artificial light. It's not as good as in daylight. You can see there's some noise, especially in the dark areas, but I think it picks up the colour really well. But again, the resolution and the kind of sharpness is very good. Compared to many other cameras, it certainly beats my phone, it certainly beats a smartphone. 4K really does make a difference, basically, if you shoot in 4K. But there is some issues when it shoots in darker areas, especially darker, like blacks. It will shows a bit of noise, which is the difference between this camera and a GoPro or a more expensive action camera. The more expensive ones won't have that noise in darker areas, whereas this kind of does struggle in that area. Now, another thing to know about this camera is that it does have some stabilization technology or some software stabilization, which only works if you shoot at HD resolution, so it won't work shooting in 4K. I was running with the camera when I shot this video, and this is a stabilized version. Now, compared to the non-stabilized version, it does make quite a big difference. Maybe you won't notice it here, but I was really putting it through its paces, literally like shaking the camera about, and it works reasonably well. If you attached it to a bike or your car, it will easily handle like small vibrations and small bumps. So it's good that it has software stabilization. It's not the best in the industry, but it's better than nothing. Finally, let's take a look at some low light footage. Usually these kind of cameras struggle in low light, especially the cheaper ones, because they don't have as high quality lenses. So let's take a look at some low light video. And as I suspected, it doesn't really work as well. Compared to the daylight version, it is lower quality, and you can definitely see a lot more noise. It definitely struggles in this light to pick up more detail, and this wasn't even really that dark. I think if you shot in proper low light situation, it really wouldn't work that well. But yeah, that's kind of the same with all these cameras at this kind of price range. So that's pretty much my demonstration of how good the video is shot with the FireFly. So you can decide for yourself. I personally think it's pretty good for the price. Very, very good value for money. Especially the slow motion, because I really like that and I think it looks really, really good. With a bit of effort, the video from this can look amazing. So yeah, I personally think this is such good value for a video camera anyway. Let's quickly take a look at the design of the camera. It's not always super important, but it's just good to see kind of what it can do and how it works. So as you can see, it's a very small little device. It has this little mirror here, which I believe is for selfies. I mean, I thought it was a bit ridiculous at first, but it actually works quite well. You can see yourself and take a decent selfie with it. So it has a full touchscreen at the back. Let's just turn it on. The touchscreen actually works really, really well. It's super responsive. It works just as good as a smartphone. The menu system is very logical and easy to work out. It has a USB port and a micro HDMI port here for transferring files and viewing files. You can plug it into a TV and view it if you want, or your laptop. The micro SD card goes right next to the lens here, which I thought it was a weird place to put it at first, but it's actually very easy, well, quite convenient really, just to pop it in and out if you want to transfer some files. Finally, it has a kind of standard tripod mount here, so if you wanted to attach it to a tripod or a selfie stick, then that is also possible. Another interesting thing about this camera is basically the amount of stuff you get with it. So here is the box it comes in. I mean, it's a pretty big box for such a small camera, and the reason for that is, let me show you, is that it comes with a hell of a lot of accessories just for free. For example, this waterproof case, and then there's just a whole box of stuff in here, just like various mounts, various attachments. I'm not really sure what most of them do. I mean, I think most of them for attaching like adhesive mounts, GoPro mounts, stuff to attach to your car, to your bike, to a surfboard, all that kind of stuff, and it all comes in here. I'm dropping it all. But the most interesting thing that it comes with is a external mic, which is quite unique. I've never had a action camera that comes with its own external microphone. I guess finally what we should do is look at some photos shot with this camera, although there's not really much point because I'm just going to tell you right now that it's not very good for shooting photos. It can shoot 16 megapixel photos, which is, I mean, fairly standard for these kind of cameras, but they're not very detailed. They're kind of very blurry. The colors don't look good. I wouldn't use this as a main photography camera. It's fine for shooting a few snaps with, but like all action cameras, like most of them suck when it comes to photos. Even the GoPros, really expensive ones, don't shoot great photos. Video is definitely the main reason you would buy this camera, not photos. I guess so, guys. I guess that's it. That's the FireFly 8 SE. I mean, I'd never heard of that brand before, and I was really skeptical when I got it, but it actually works really well. I'm going to take this on holiday with me to shoot some. I'm going away for a whole month around Europe, so I'm going to shoot some more video with this and see how it turns out. But the 4K looks great. With a bit of editing, it can look amazing, and the slow motion works really, really well, and I think it looks great, especially in HD. So that's enough for me to justify $100, and it also comes with all these accessories and stuff, and it just is really easy to use. I don't think it's a GoPro killer, which all these cameras claim to be, but they're not. Because GoPro, the thing it does have is excellent lenses, which means it can shoot in low light very well and avoid that kind of noise you get in darker areas. But if you just want to shoot your holidays, if you just want a cheap action camera which shoots 4K and slow motion, both of those look so good, and it's so cheap, so why not? Yeah, that's it guys, that's my review of the FireFly 8 SE. I would recommend it if you're looking for a camera in that price range, $100 to $150. So yeah, that's it. If you want more information on this camera, check the link below. I've also got a discount code, which I'm not sure how long it lasts for. It might just be the last few days now, but check anyway. It might get you, I think, $10 or $15 off this. I hope that you found this useful. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments, and subscribe if you like this video and if you want to see more gadgets, because otherwise I won't know whether you want to see them or not. Have a good one. I'll see you around. Bye.